quickly, one idea I've already floated on this podcast, but I really think deserves some time here is trading Jonnu Smith. And what's really a salary dump. Okay, again, if you follow the NBA, you know these moves are made all of the time. Jonnu Smith is not only one of the worst contracts on the team, in the AFC East, in the AFC, he is one of the worst contracts in the entire league. Okay, he's coming up at a $17.2 million cap hit next season, $18.4 million in 2024, and trading him after June 1st, which is a key deal basically for boring accounting rules in the NFL. If you traded him after June 1st, the Patriots would take a sizable dead cap hit, but also create around $10 million in cap savings. The key here, of course, is no one wants Jonnu Smith. As I just mentioned, he's the worst contract in the NFL. He has not crossed 300 yards, just 300 in a single season with the Patriots, never hit 500 with the Titans. Who the hell wants Jonnu Smith, let alone at this number, maybe even half? The Patriots can sweeten the deal with a couple of draft picks, and there is precedent. 2017, Houston offloaded Brock Osweiler, saved themselves $16 million in cash, $10 million in cap space, sending him to the Browns, who had over $100 million in cap space, and attached a second-round pick. So you sweeten it with some sort of incentive. It's almost always draft equity, sometimes a young player. The Patriots can't give out any of those. And it saved the Texans, with Bill O'Brien, by the way, 5.4% of the cap that year, which was at 177. So you save $10 million, same amount the Patriots would with Jonnu Smith, but now it's out of $224 million. So that's actually 4.4% of the cap this year. I don't think the Patriots would have to attach a second-round pick, depending on the market and the interest that they would have. But again, we just talked about those teams: Chicago, Atlanta, Houston, tons of space, all rebuilding, would welcome the draft picks and have the money to use up on a contract like Jonnu Smith. But you could attach something like a fourth and a sixth rounder, or maybe two fourths, or maybe a fourth and two sixth rounders. Because when you look at the modern, like the updated draft value chart, you remember the old Jimmy Johnson one, helped them restart the Cowboys, won all those Super Bowls. You look at the modern versions with a lot more data, the value of a second round pick, even if you want to stay in the same price range that Brock Osweiler went to Cleveland, two fourths add up to that same second round value, or a fourth and two sixth rounders. And the Patriots, once they get their comp picks, which have not been handed out yet, but just based on projections, are expected to have 3 fourth-round picks in this year's draft. They're expected to have 4 sixth-round picks in this year's draft. So it's either 2 fourth-rounders, a fourth, and a couple of sixths is roughly equal to that second-round pick, which, again, I don't think they would have to meet based on the salary relief. Jonnu Smith being offloaded is less than what it was for Houston back in the day with Brock Osweiler, but it's not going to be that far off because, again, who has use for that player at that type of number? So the trouble is, of course, you've got a smaller market. This hasn't happened really since the Osweiler deal, but timing. If the Patriots do this, it has to be after June 1st, which means by that time, Atlanta, Chicago, Houston won't have as much space after this deal is done, when they've presumably gone on a spending spree. But understanding that they're not ready to contend in 2023, these front offices are going to want to roll over their cap space from 2023 into 2024, something we saw the Patriots do in 2020, knew they weren't going to contend, knew they were going to spend the following spring, kept a lot of their cap space, and you just get to roll over. So I don't think they'll spend all of Chicago's $94.4 million, Atlanta in the 50s, the Giants after them, and Houston in fourth or fifth. So there should be enough, but $10 million of cap space is a lot to absorb for a team at that point in the season when you've already spent on free agency, you've probably signed most of your draft class, and you want to save money for in-season expenditures. The good news for the Patriots would be, if you can make this happen, the salary relief you would get, again, around $10 million, is about what you would need for in-season expenditures like signing people off the street, off a practice squad, sometimes for per-game roster bonuses, which they use a lot. So you could do all of your business up until June 1st. If you're confident you could deal Jonnu Smith, spend almost every single dollar of your salary cap, and then execute the deal June 2nd, if there's one in place, depending on those conversations go respective to the contract. But maybe I'm just dreaming. It's just, you got to get creative when you're 8-9. I think this is the way they can do it. The Pats Interference podcast is powered by Athletic Greens. Build a foundation for better health with AG1.